Hi coaches, in this video today I will explain the importance of Rondo and how it can impact your training session for the better. In Rondo's simplest form, it can be a 4v2 activity in a smaller space that requires lots of actions both on the attacking and the defensive end. In Activity 1, you can see that the grid is set up so 4 attacking players are on the outside and 2 defending players are in the inside. Depending on the skill level of your team, you might just want to go to one defender. You also might want to make your grid bigger. As you can see in this activity right now, with my U18 girls team, we are playing with 4 attacking players and 2 defending players in a 6-yard by 6-yard grid. In this activity, the space is intentionally tight because they are higher level players that need more pressure on the ball when they play. You can choose from a wide range of coaching points in a 4v2. When focusing on the attacking player, you focus on good technical passes that involve the inside of the foot. You can also focus on tactical concepts like playing away from the defender, being patient when the defenders doesn't press, and then playing faster when the defenders both press. To allow for higher repetition, you should designate one player with a pile of balls to be the person that restarts the play when the ball goes out of bounds. Notice also how when the attacking player makes a mistake, the defending players are quick to hand off their penny so the game can get moving right away. In Activity 2, it's the same setup as Activity 1, we've just now placed a restriction on the game. The restriction is when the defending player wins the ball, they are now asked to try to dribble out of the square in order to become an attacking player. This focuses on the defending players not just kicking the ball away when they win it, but trying to think about the next step. It also asks the attacking players to try to defend, so we're now working on transition play within our 4v2 rondo. If your team plays a lot of 4v2 over the course of the season, it can tend to get tedious. So implementing a scoring system or ways to get points is really important to keep players competitive and to keep the level of play high. One instance could be if the defending player wins the ball and dribbles out of the grid, they can then build up a credit so the next time they make a mistake, they avoid going in. You could also add rules like 10 passes in a row makes the defending team do 10 push-ups. Another way you could implement a scoring system is every time a defending player or defending pairing gets split, they then owe push-ups at the end of the sequence. In Activity 3, it's another 4v2 variation. In this variation, each player has a teammate. When you're defending always with your teammate. If your teammate makes a mistake while attacking, you and your teammate both transition in and the 2 defending players both transition out. I would use this activity if I was focusing on transitional concepts within the game. So if my session included transitioning from attack to defense or defense to attack, I would first use this rondo game just to give a moment where transitions occur within the play. To make this game even more effective, I would encourage the player designated to play in the ball to focus on quick restarts, even if the game is not even set up yet. This will encourage players to always be checked on and to be aware of when they're defending or when they're transitioning to attack. In this sequence, you can see that the orange player turns the ball over to the green player. So both green players are going to step out of the grid and join the attack, while both orange players are going to step into the grid and become the new defenders. It's important that you're aware of what you and your partner are doing so that you both can be on the same page and begin to defend immediately. In Activity 4, the field is now set up to be 20 yards long by 10 yards wide. There are 2 target players at each opposing end of the field. There can be 1 to 2 defenders and then 3 attacking players. In this activity, I've asked my players to complete 2 passes in one grid before they find the opposing target player. After they find the opposing target player, all 3 attacking players switch to the next grid and the defending player must follow to try to win the ball. If the defending player intercepts or steals the ball, or an attacking player misplays a pass out of bounds, then the defending player hands off their penny to whatever player made a mistake and they transition. Again, there's a designated player playing in the soccer balls to keep the game moving at all times. For this game, the main coaching points would be that the players on the wide areas of the field shape their body in so that they can see both target players at all times and are able to play the pass long if they are able to. Additionally, we should focus on quick transitions into the next grid so that they can constantly be supporting the player with the ball. You should also focus on players receiving with their far foot, or also known as their front foot. This will allow players to receive the ball and face the way that they want to play. In Activity 5, I have set up a zonal rondo. Each attacking player is bound and restricted into a specific zone of the field. The 2 or 3 defending players are free to go into any zone to try to win the ball. If the defending players win the ball, they are then asked to make a smaller rondo, a 3v1, in whatever grid they won the ball. This is a great game for especially younger teams who struggle with keeping their space on the field. This can teach players, through the restrictions of the game, that they each have their own spot on the field and not to overcrowd each other. This can also allow attacking players to have different movements when they try to support the ball. Not only can they move left to right, but they also can come forward and go backwards in their grid. So within this game, you should ask the attacking players to always support the ball at the best angle possible. In this game, I've asked the defending players to wear the penny. This means that they are not transitioning from defense to attack when they win the ball. I would have games like these on intervals, so the defending players are defending for 1-minute intervals and get a point for each time they make a pass to another defending player. Activity 6 is best known as 3-team possession. In this activity, there are 3 teams equally split amongst each other. 2 teams are friends and are working together to attack, while 1 team is in defense. In this activity, it requires quick transitions. Whatever team in possession makes the mistake that leads to a turnover or misplays a pass out of the grid, they are then asked to all transition to defense. In order to help all the players recognize who's the defending team, after a turnover or a mistake happens, you then ask the team that's transitioning from attack to defense to touch their knee to the ground. This simple tactic will help everyone understand who is defending and who is attacking. As you can see, I have asked the players to surround the grid with soccer balls so that if a ball goes out of bounds, they can quickly restart the play by grabbing a soccer ball near them and getting the play going again. This again is super important to have the play fluid and to make sure that there's less stoppages so that players can get more actions in a shorter period of time. Activity 7, also known as trench possession or over the river, requires that there's 3 teams equally split. In this activity, the defending team is always occupying the center channel of the field. For this game, I have asked that 1 defender be sent over to try to win the ball, and that the 3 attacking players must complete 4 passes before they can play over the center channel. If the defending player wins the ball, they can attempt to try to play across the river themselves, or they can just play the ball out of bounds. Whenever the defending team wins the ball, they then get to occupy the space that they won the ball from. That means that a quick transition occurs and that the team that lost possession then has to go immediately defend. In this game, it can be played as a 5v2, a 4v2, a 4v1, or a 3v1, depending on the numbers you have for training and the skill level. Additionally, the required amount of passes you ask a team to make should be dependent on their skill level. If you are training a high-level team and they are capable of completing a high number of passes in a row, you should challenge them with maybe 5 or 6 passes. In order to get a point, a team must complete a designated amount of passes and then play it over the center channel. Once they do that, they are then awarded 1 point. When this game is played to a score, it can get extremely competitive and raise the level of play. Activity 8 can be played as a 6v3 rondo, which includes a scoring system for both the attacking players and the defending players. When the attacking players reach a designated amount of passes that they completed in a row, they are awarded a point. If the defending players win the ball, they can score a point by trying to pass the ball through the gates on either ends of the field. In this game, you can play to a specific score, so it could be first team to 5, meaning that if the attacking team gets the designated amount of passes in a row 5 times, or if the defending team scores 5 goals, that team is then the winner. You could also play this game on intervals, meaning that if you set 1 minute intervals, whatever the score is at the end of the minute, that then decides the winner and loser of the game. In summary, rondo activities are widely popular amongst the entire soccer community. You can see many professional and high level teams like Barcelona and Man City, and coaches like Pep Guardiola institute rondos into their training environment. Additionally, within youth soccer, rondos are a great way to start each practice. If players become familiar with the activities, it requires very little explanation on the coach's part, and it allows players to get into the activity right away. Finally, the more you play rondo activities, the more competitive they can get, and the higher the level of play in your trainings rises.